The Iranians are, on the other hand, targeting civilian infrastructure. You guys have seen it. I'm sure you've seen it.
We never target civilian infrastructure. You blew up a school.
Hitting airports. They're hitting oil infrastructure. Well, it'd be very tragic, but I can't.
There is no world where you can get normal Americans to be like, "Wow, I can't believe Iran is targeting Israeli civilian infrastructure." That's not happening. We have moved way past that.
They were attacked, and by someone else. Israel attacked them. They hit us first, and we waited for them to hit us. We would suffer more casualties and more deaths. We went proactively in a defensive way to prevent them from inflicting higher damage. Had we not done so, there would have been hearings on Capitol Hill about how we knew that this was going to happen, and we didn't act preemptively to prevent more casualties and more loss of life.
The U.S. was forced to strike because of an impending Israeli action?
No, well, let me two things I would say. Number one is, no matter what, ultimately this operation needed to happen. That's the question of why now. But this operation needed to happen because Iran in about a year or a year and a half would cross the line of immunity, meaning they would have so many short-range missiles, so many drones that no one...
This is a good take from Cloud District Enjoyer. Much better than him yelling at me when I say this is Israel's divergence of interest. Cloud District Enjoyer, divergence in interest with Israel reminds me of Syria. Everyone in the Western plus Middle Eastern alliance was interested in removing Assad. True. But Turkey and the U.S. and co. want a stable but subservient Syria. Also true. But Israel wants to tear it apart. Also true. It's the same here. U.S. and the GCC want a subservient and stable Iran that is amenable to U.S. security and financial interests. Israel wants the whole thing torn apart. Initial convergence of interest, then divergence. That is exactly what's going on here. Israel sneaks into the equation with the divergence, or with the convergence of interest. Israel says, "Oh, we got the same interest that you do, right? We're Israel. We love you guys." And then, slowly but surely, they take over the driver's seat and turn around and go, "Actually, we want something different than you. We want something very different. We're going to sell it to you. We're going to try to make it seem like this was your own decision, okay? We're gonna try to put you in front of the moving bus so you have no other way out of the situation." And that's precisely what they're doing in this situation as well. Like, they're doing this with Iran right now. Yes, everyone wants to defang Iran. The sovereign Iranian state presents a threat to America because at some point they might decide, we don't like what you're doing. America doesn't want that. The GCC doesn't want that, right? But they're perfectly willing to have a defanged Iran with no Hezbollah, with no IRGC presence in like Iraq or Syria. They're totally fine with that, okay? They're totally fine with that. The problem is Israel doesn't want that at all. Israel doesn't want a pliant Iran. Israel wants no Iran.
For the next regime that comes in and replaces the
Well, we would love to see this regime be replaced. And ultimately, as the president has said, he calls... No, but let me finish my answer. As the president has said, he would love for the people of Iran to use this as an opportunity to rise up and remove these leaders. They've been wanting to remove them from a long time. We've seen successive waves of protests, and we've seen them slaughter people.
Yeah, Rubio's still lying, by the way. The Pentagon literally admitted that there was no preemptive strike coming from Iran. Pentagon tells Congress no sign that Iran was going to attack the U.S. first. We know that already, though.
The bottom line is, no matter who gourns that country a year from now, they're not going to have these ballistic missiles, and they're not going to have these objectives.
To threaten us, Israel,
he means
Israel.
Ballistic missiles to threaten their neighbors, to threaten our bases, to threaten our presence in the region, and ultimately as a shield behind which they can do whatever they want with their nuclear weapons ambition. We were not going to let them hide behind that, and that's why this was such a critical mission to undertake now while they were at their weakest point, and not a year from now where they could inflict even more damage and perhaps already be behind that point of immunity. Go right here, behind. Go ahead, you and then you. Yes.
Your critics in Congress have said that they should have a role, they should be able to weigh in here, and there are going to be war powers resolutions votes in Congress later this week. Why not notify Congress ahead of this? And does Congress...
Well, we did. We notified Congress. I mean, we notified the Gang of Eight. We notified congressional leadership. There's no law that requires us to do that. The law says we have to notify them 48 hours after beginning hostilities. We've done that. I think the notification went today. But we did notify members of Congress in advance. But we can't notify 535 members of Congress. Well, the Congress can vote on whatever they want, but there's no law that requires us to do that. And I want to say something because I see people on TV. Look, that's fine. If they want to take hours vote, they can do that. They've done that. They've done that a bunch of times. But people keep saying that there's no law that requires the president to have done anything with regards to this. To begin with, no presidential administration has ever accepted the Powers Act as constitutional. Not Republican presidents, not Democratic presidents. That said, we have followed the notification at 48 hours, and we're here today. I've done more Gang of Eight briefings than I got in the 4 years that Biden was president and I was a member of the Gang of Eight. All of that said, we've complied with the law 100%. And we're going to continue to comply with it. We've done the notification, and we officially to Congress, but we did notify members of Congress. We just can't notify 535 people. That's not possible, but we did the Gang of Eight twice. I briefed them last week, and then I called them the night before the operation.
Can you tell us what you know, Mr. Secretary, of the administration knows about the strike on a building in southern Iran, the Iranians saying that the school reports of large civilians, including children killed?
Yeah, I've seen those reports. I would refer you, not because I'm not trying to answer your question, but I don't want to get it wrong. The Department of War would be investigating that if that was our strike, and I would refer your question to them, and I'll make sure they're aware that you have that question. But we'd like to know. Well, clearly, the United States would not deliberately target a school. Our objectives are both the ability to manufacture them and the ability to launch them, and the one-way attract drones. That would be our focus, and that's what we would be focused on. We would have no interest and, frankly, no incentive to target civilian infrastructure. The Iranians are, on the other hand, targeting civilian infrastructure. You guys have seen it. I'm sure you've seen it.
We never target civilian infrastructure. You blew up a school.
Hitting airports. They're hitting oil infrastructure. Well, it'd be very tragic, but I can't
There
speak
is
to
no
the
world where you can
details
get
behind it because
normal Americans to be like, wow, I can't believe Iran is targeting Israeli civilian infrastructure. That's not happening. We have moved way past that. You can't complain about cluster bombs, and you certainly cannot complain about Iranian targeting inside of Tel Aviv. It just doesn't work that way. To the average person, they're going to be like, what do you mean? There is such a thing as international rule-based order here? There's such a thing as, like, crimes? I didn't... I spent the last 3 years listening to you say that that's actually bullshit. This is the part where AOC is right when she says hypocrisy of this sort is a national security problem, which is that you cannot destroy the rules so flagrantly over and over again at the behest of Israel and then expect people to follow them. It's that simple, especially when it's Israel, by the way. No one gives a fuck about this. Okay? No one gives a fuck about international law at this point.
That's the kind of
sovereign state. What are you talking about? International law. There is no more international law.
And Secretary Wright and Besson will begin to roll out those steps starting tomorrow to mitigate against the impact that could have.
The only reason why this worked for years and years, the only reason why America and Israel were able to get away with this is because no one was crazy enough to also violate it in the same way on the opposing side. Russia was the first to go out as a state, as a sovereign state, and say the rules. Okay? The rules. I don't give a shit. I'm going in. I'm invading Ukraine militarily. Suck my dick. That was the first big blow. After years and years of American conquest, after years of Israeli annexation, all of a sudden, there was someone on the other side saying, no, in the post-dissolution of the USSR world, we are a major power that is going to also do the same shit that America does with regular frequency. People lost their minds when Russia did it. But then October 7 happened. And when October 7th happened, Israel decided to nuke what remains of all of these security cooperations, international rule-based order, and America was along for the journey every step of the way. America literally didn't even try to fix the propaganda side of things. They didn't even try. They didn't even try to be like, no, we actually do have rules here. We actually do have to do whatever we can to follow the normal rules, follow the normal process here. No, Joe Biden was supposed to be Mr. I will bring back NATO, Mr. I will bring back our alliances, Mr. I will bring back the international rule-based order. And it was a spectacular failure. You're being so dismissive. Iran is also attacking civilians all throughout the region. It's not just about rules. Are you reasoning nobody should be sympathized because of your stance about Trump in other parts of the world? Wait, what are you talking about? He's not wrong. Iranians are targeting more civilian infrastructure, not just Israeli. Arabs in the region, stop being dismissive, I beg of you. Nobody deserves to die because of Iran-Israel beef. It's condemnable. Man, shut the up. What are you talking about? America is carpet-bombing Tehran as of last night. Hundreds of Iranian civilians have died. Hundreds of Iranian children have died. And you're over here being like, oh, well, Iran has taken pot shots with Shahed drones in hotels that clearly have armed service personnel staying in them because they escaped the bases. And we have to actually worry about that. Like, yeah, it's condemnable. I agree. Okay. America has blown up hospitals in Iran. What the are you talking about? I can't believe HasanAbi was just in Tehran. You know, I have eyes, right? My point is, if you want other countries to play by the rules, you have to at least show that you are committed to said rules. You can't just violate the rules all the time with the expectation that your foreign adversaries are too afraid to violate them themselves, and therefore only you get to violate. Dude, this is not a defense of fucking targeting civilian infrastructure, okay? It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous that you think sovereign nation states are not going to fucking sit there and watch America and Israel take a shit on all of the previous rules that were designed to keep the world stable for years and years and years, and then not inevitably also say, all right, well, fuck it. Especially after they killed their head of state. They killed their head of state. Do you know how many fucking rules that violates? Are you crazy? Guys, this is so insane that Russia has not done it. Okay? Russia has not done this in Ukraine. Do you understand how fucking insane that is? Like, what are you talking about? I'll step in, don't worry. Oh, they're trying? I'm sure. But like, let's be real. Let's be real. I'm fairly certain that if Russia really, really wanted to assassinate Zelensky, I'm sure they would try a little bit harder. You know what I mean? Like these are nation states we're talking about. The whole point of there is a well-established rule that you just don't do this, okay? You just don't do this. You don't use nukes, and you don't kill the head of a sovereign state. Like, America did this to Saddam Hussein with a sham trial. They like literally, they put him in trial. They found him criminally guilty. They assassinated him after the fact, okay? The last time this happened was, again, Israel killing the Yemeni head of state. But even then you could say, okay, well, the Ansar Allah movement is actually a militant movement. It's not officially the, head of state or whatever. But as far as I can think, as far as I can remember, I cannot think of another instance, with the exception of, I guess, the USSR in Afghanistan, where a sovereign head of state decided to assassinate another sovereign head of state. Okay? These things matter. These things matter a lot. Okay? Like, Gaddafi doesn't even count because Gaddafi was not a direct targeted strike. It was they set events in motion that led to the assassination of Gaddafi. And America has obviously always utilized covert operations. Like, you can say Allende is another example of this, right? But as far as a successful assassination of a sovereign nation, a head of a sovereign state is unheard of. It's crazy. I can't think of a contemporary example at all. Last time a head of state was killed by military action by foreign military was 1870 Paraguay versus Brazil. No, I think Afghanistan, the USSR in Afghanistan probably is a more recent example. But again, what the fuck are we talking about? This is crazy. The IRA tried to assassinate Thatcher. Guys, you are comparing covert operations. I'm not saying America doesn't fucking assassinate foreign heads of state. They do it all the time. I'm saying the way in which you do this matters, okay? Sending in paramilitary units or setting events in motion that cause destabilization on the ground that end up with the death of a leader of a foreign state is entirely separate than going in and using bombers to decapitate the head of a state. We didn't even do it to fucking Saddam. Why is this so difficult to comprehend? The only country that does this shit is Israel. And even then, they did it to Yemen. And you can say that it's not technically the head of an official head of a sovereign state in that regard. The IRA comparison doesn't hold here. The IRA was a paramilitary organization. It's not the official standing military of a sovereign state. The way we did Osama, my guy, also Osama bin Laden doesn't even fucking count because he was not a leader of a sovereign nation state anyway. It's pretty fucking crazy. Like we are, but should heads of state be acceptable targets? I mean, look, that's a separate conversation. What you're bringing up is an entirely separate conversation. Okay? Probably not, though. The answer is probably not. Because ultimately, the head of a sovereign state is supposed to engage in diplomacy at the end. When you lose the war, you still sign off on the fucking treaty, for example. Okay? Like, there is a good rule. There is a reason for why these rules have been around since antiquity. Okay? We are changing rules that have been around since antiquity. Okay? It's fucking insane. I don't understand. Name one head of state that slaughtered thousands of their own citizens and civilians in a single month since Hitler. Your argument is non-existent and dumb. Benjamin Netanyahu is functionally the head of an apartheid state because there is a one singular state in Israel right now as it stands, both in the West Bank and also in Gaza. And Benjamin Netanyahu has killed far more people. Saddam Hussein has killed far more people. Assad in Syria has also killed a shit ton of people. We're not even doing it for that reason anyway. Stop trying to justify this shit, dumbass. Iran is not Iraq, he says. Yeah, exactly. And we didn't even do this in fucking Iraq. Death count is at 6 soldiers now. There is no justification for what America and Israel did here, okay? There is a reason why we don't do this. Because guess what? When you decapitate the head of a state, especially a religious figure of such importance, it is going to have global reverberations. It is going to cause the state to react in the way that they are. Ironically enough, I think Iran is still relatively restrained in their approach to this. What would America do is the question here. You know what I mean? It's crazy. You can't just like destroy every fucking rule in the rule book and then expect other countries to react in a restrained manner. And then people go, oh, well, I don't know. I think Iran is like behaving irrationally here. No, they are behaving far more rationally than many other countries would in this circumstance. And are very deliberate with what they're striking, very deliberate with their expenditure of munitions. They have a longer term goal here in spite of the decapitation strikes that took place. It's very clear. If you want to analyze it normally, this is how you analyze it normally. If you want me to engage in fucking fanfare and engage in like a partisan approach and try to make you feel better about America's idiotic fucking idiotic rule breaking here, and idiotic attempts of like destabilizing a fucking massive country in the region, you're not going to get that from me. Okay? Yeah, I've been looking back, and the only one I can see where a foreign military intelligence service directly killed a head of state or government was Hafizullah Amin in 1979. All others were either covert support or proxies. This is pretty unprecedented. Yeah, that's why I said in contemporary society, the last time you can go back to in recent history is 1979. That's literally, it's fucking ridiculous. Like it is so unheard of. Like we're moving past it because like Ayatollah's a bad guy, all this shit, right? But like they're not going to move past it. It's their fucking head of state. You know what I mean? Like what is the expectation here? That, oh, they're cheating? Why are they striking back? Like we're so used to just dominating the entire planet that we straight up look at the situation and go, wait a minute, why are our enemies totally operating outside of the confines of like the rules that we set that we violate all the time? No, Allende doesn't count. The reason why I'm saying like Salvador Allende or all these other covert instances of American action is because America sets up the stage for a military coup and then Allende kills himself. Like all of those operations, even if we were directly involved in them, there's a difference between that and America flying a jet over Chile and bombing Allende's fucking palace. Okay? This is crazy. This is a war operation. This is a military operation against a sovereign head of state. It does not happen that way. Khamenei, Khamenei had led Iran either as president or supreme leader since 1981. This is the first time, to my knowledge, that any sovereign leader has been killed in a direct military attack by another state since 1979, when the Soviets killed Afghan leader Hafizullah Amin. Yes. Iranian state's TV says Khamenei was killed in the Israeli bombing of his official residence in the opening salvo of the war this morning. He was not in any secure bunker of the kind he was taken to after the start of the last war in June. Mao Zedong Grandma, so your analysis is U.S. Israel killed the Ayatollah to stir up the Iranian people and Shia Muslims in the region to destabilize the country and region. My analysis is that America and Israel went into this military operation with very different goals in mind. America thought, stupidly, and not even Americans, not even like the generals, whatever, but like Trump believed Israel when Israel said, oh, you can just go in, kill the Ayatollah, you'll be a legend. All of the other previous administrations were too pussy to do it. You're not too pussy. You're actually the man. You got the biggest balls. And the Iranian people are salivating at the prospect of taking over their government. This guy's ruthless. This guy's brutal. Immediately, overnight, the Iranian government is in your hands. Okay? Israel basically lied to Trump. 100%. And you're seeing that right now with the way that Trump is talking about it, right? You're seeing that with the inconsistency in their approach. We just listened to Marco Rubio, who is a much more competent neocon, who came out and gave this also inconsistent message. He lied and he said, Iran was going to attack us any moment. That's why we had to do this, blah, blah, blah, all this shit. They're lying. And there's plenty of evidence that the state is lying about this. So my assumption here is that the Israelis literally told Trump a lie. They said, you will be a legend. This will be easy, in and out. You'll negotiate with whoever you want to put in charge. But Israel had a different ambition in mind. Israel wants to destabilize Iran. Israel wants Iran to not exist. Israel wants to balkanize Iran. Israel wants to turn Iran into Libya, a failed state, right? Israel does not want any Iran to exist in the region. Israel does not want any sovereignty in Iran to exist in the region, because guess what? Those ballistic missiles will still exist in a sovereign Iran, and those missiles can still strike Israel if they see fit. Are you aware fans of your former co-hosts are now claiming that you are encouraging your community to attack the U.S. with Chinese weapons? What? No, I'm not aware of this, but that's pretty funny that they're claiming this. It's true. You told me that. Yeah. So everybody watch Sean Hannity tonight at 9 p.m. Bibi Netanyahu will be interviewed. President Donald J. Trump. Oh my God, he's giddy like a schoolgirl, dude. Oh, Bibi, my best friend. So where was I? Oh, so we're straight up terror jacketing Hasan. What is this? Hasan suggests future domestic terrorists use suicide drones and gives them specific instructions for how to obtain parts. Does anyone care? Nothing matters anymore. Yeah, I mean, I don't think this is all that serious. I think this is like so unimaginably insane that most normal people will look at this and be like, you're hysterical. That's awesome. Can we just take a moment to say how right we were about Jimmy Dore and Tulsi Gabbard? Remember the people that would attack you and me for calling them grifters 5 years ago? Yeah, of course. All of those people were cranks. I could smell the crank from a mile away. And that's the reason why I kept yelling at people. This is how Twitch streamers announce collabs. Yeah, guys. It's so obvious that Israel has a totally separate ambition here than the American government, and is steering the American naval assets to a long-standing potential military occupation of Iran, which will probably collapse the American state later down the line. But that's besides the point. Israel doesn't give a shit because they're fucking suicidal and they're insane. But basically, Israel wants a failed state in Iran. They will try to get that to happen with American military and American service members dying in the process. They'll do anything to get that goal. And it's entirely dependent on how far Trump will go. If Trump is stupid enough to play along with this, it's cooked. It's entirely cooked. If Trump decides things are going poorly, and just goes, all right, we're going to commit to boots on the ground, we're fucked. You can figure that out by just looking at the strike patterns and the strike targets. Donald Trump literally revealed last fucking night, that his plan B and plan C options for who gets to control the Iranian state were assassinated on the first day. Okay? It's so unimaginably cooked. Here is Donald Trump talking to Jake Tapper.
He said, quote, "We're knocking the crap out of them. I think it's going very well. It's very powerful. We've got the greatest military in the world, and we're using it." I asked the president how long he thought this war might last. He said, "I don't want to see it go on too long. I always thought it would be 4 weeks, and we're a little ahead of schedule." I asked him if the U.S. was doing more to help the Iranian people reclaim their country than the military strikes, if there was other stuff going on. He said, "Yes, we are indeed, but right now we want everyone staying inside. It's not safe out there." He also suggested it was about to get even less safe. "We haven't even started hitting them hard. The big wave hasn't even happened. The big one is coming soon." I asked the president about the fact that Iran attacked Arab countries in the region, Bahrain, Jordan, Kuwait, Qatar, and the UAE. He said that that was the biggest surprise so far for him and his team. Quote, "We were surprised. We told them," meaning the Arab countries, "we've got this." And now they want to fight, and they're aggressively fighting. They were going to be very little involved, and now they insist on being involved. He said of the Arab leaders of those countries, "I know these people, they're tough and smart." The Iranians, he said, quote, "shot into a hotel. They shot into an apartment house. It just made them," meaning the Arab leaders, "angry. They love us, but they were watching. There was no reason for them to be involved." That was probably the biggest surprise. You have to understand they were living under that dark cloud for years, meaning the Iranian nuclear threat. That's why you could never have peace. I asked, okay, well, who's going to lead Iran now? The president said, "We don't know who the leadership is. We don't know who they'll pick. Maybe they'll get lucky and get someone who knows what they're doing." The Iranians, he said, lost a lot in terms of leadership because of the initial strikes. Not only was Ayatollah Khamenei killed, but also 49 other Iranian leaders, he said. It was an amazing strike. They got a little bit arrogant.
By the way, if the Strait of Hormuz closes, Japan is cooked. I forgot to mention that. They're even in a worse predicament than China. The Japanese government has stated they have 254 days worth of oil reserves. Also, the Japanese government, or at least not the fucking pliant leadership in Japan that are America dick riders and Israel dick riders, but the rest of the Japanese government has been losing their fucking minds because America did not even give them a prior notice that they were striking Tehran. And there are Japanese nationals in Tehran. So we're not even abiding by previous long-standing security arrangements that we have with some of our most consequential fucking allies. And not only that, but also closing off the Strait of Hormuz. If Iran ends up successfully closing off the Strait of Hormuz, it's over for Japan. They destroy all of Japanese energy. The Japanese government has stated that they have 254 days of oil reserves. If the Strait of Hormuz is closed for an extended period due to the ongoing war, it will be a very serious problem for Japan's economy. But hey, am Israel high, right? Let's go, baby. Fucking nuclear warfare. Fuck it. Fuck it. Destroy the planet for Israel. Let's go. Let's go. That's where we're moving towards, by the way. I just want to fucking put it out there one more time, okay? East Asia, in particular, highly exposed to disruption of oil exports in the Strait of Hormuz, okay? Oh, the U.S.-Israeli war against Iran is driving up sugar prices. World sugar prices rose on Monday on fears of the U.S.-Israel war against Iran, which is disrupting global energy supplies, will prompt Brazilian cane mills to produce more ethanol and less sugar, and also impact the flow of refined sugar. Most ethanol in Brazil is made from sugarcane. If mills and the top sugar producer and exporter use more cane to produce the biofuel, as prices for it might rise following oil, they will have less of the raw material to produce sugar, a food staple and cheap source of calories for developing countries. We are literally rerouting international trade and nuking it. And yes, Iran has officially stated that they are closing the Strait of Hormuz, by the way. As of a couple hours ago, they officially announced that the Strait of Hormuz is closed. Oh, when? What will it take? What will it take for people to literally realize that we got to fucking stop Israel? We all have to get united and stop Israel. What will it fucking take? A group of Japanese tourists land in Israel in matching Israeli vests singing "I'm Israel High." Okay, stop. This is just a Japanese cult. I don't care about that right now. Fuck you, degenerate. Really? Fuck me. Well, you're getting ass fucked, dumbass. Trust me, you're getting ass fucked a lot worse than I am. You're like, no, I don't care. Israel's suicide mission is far more important for me, an American citizen living in the United States of America. I am literally cattle, sir. I am servile. Strap me to a fucking JDAM and send my ass to Tehran right now. Please. As long as Israel gets to, I don't know, invade southern Lebanon again, I will be happy. It'll be a glorious death for me. It doesn't make any sense. Motherfuckers are like, no. Listen, if gas at the pump is $15 a gallon, I'm fine with that. Why? Because Greater Israel as a project is more important to me than anything else. And we have to take out all of Israel's sovereign enemies in the state, in the region, so that Israel can take over more territory in Syria and Lebanon. This is the only thing I care about. Is that it? The previous global war on terror was conducted by demonic entities, okay? Dick Cheney was a fucking demon, but at least they had like a fully fleshed out plan here as far, and obviously it didn't go according to plan, and there were many setbacks, but it doesn't matter. Like, there was a goal there, okay? There was a goal there. One that aligned with Israel's interests as well, certainly, but there was a fucking higher priority here. Right now, there is no goal. There is no goal because Israel is fucking insane. Just wait until we start talking about the nuclear option. In the upcoming days, you will start hearing about nukes in the same way that American Defense Department employees were going on CNN in the early days of the Russian invasion of Ukraine. If you recall, they were like trying to justify a potential for Russia using tactical nukes, baby nukes, mini nukes in Ukraine. They literally said that, okay? There was a reason for it, because at the time, there was a nuclear posture coming from the Russian side. And they were trying to see if there was a, you know, if they could maneuver public appetite in the direction of nukes. Here, even Tim Miller at fucking former neocon bulwark saying, reading between the lines, it seems like Israel's just out here yeeting everyone and their cleric while we're just going along for the ride. Otherwise, why would you kill the people that had identified as successors? We have to stop Israel before the entire world falls apart. Okay? This is big if true. Oh, I saw this. Nuxtaco's mangled corpse flying through the Tel Aviv skyline. Stop. That did not happen. And I disavow such things. I disavow.
It's up to the Iraqi people, or I'm sorry, the Iranian people to, but it's up to the Iraqi people, or I'm sorry, the Iranian people to choose their next leader. It's up to them to rise up and kick this regime out of place. If they do not, then they will be with a different leader, but the same regime. If they choose to get a different leader that we can have a relationship with, which we would love to. Prior to 1979, we had a good relationship with Iran. But if they choose to pick up a leader, Stuart, we will surround that leader, not necessarily with boots on the ground, but with assets to make sure that that leader can be protected, rise up, and then the Iranian people will have the opportunity to choose their next leadership.
Yeah, they don't give a fuck. I can't begin to explain to you how much white supremacy factors into this equation, okay? It was preempted because Israel was going to attack Iran, and then Iran would attack the U.S.? Yeah. No, that's... Rubio's statement on this is so fucking dumb, dude. He is such a moron. I mean, sure, he doesn't have an easy job here, right? But you can't package this in a way that makes sense. The logic is, we knew Israel was going to attack Iran. We knew Iran would retaliate against the U.S. because of it. So instead of stopping Israel from attacking Iran, we attacked Iran first to prevent the retaliation we knew Israel's attack would trigger. Incredible.
The second question that's been asked is, why now? Well, there's two reasons why now. The first is it was abundantly clear that if Iran came under attack by anyone, the United States or Israel or anyone, they were going to respond against the United States. The orders had been delegated down to the field commanders. It was automatic, and in fact, it bared to be true because, in fact,
yeah, they're trying to repackage Israel's preemptive strike as the trigger point, which it is.
Hour of the initial attack on the leadership compound, the missile forces in the south and in the north, for that matter, had already been activated to launch. In fact, those had already been pre-positioned. The third is the assessment.
I need you to understand why there's so much inconsistency in the messaging. And it is because, and I'm going to keep repeating it over and over again, hold into your fucking brains, this is Israel's war. I'm not on some Pat Buchanan shit when I say this. This is Israel's war. Israel manipulated Donald Trump. This isn't to say that Donald Trump wouldn't love to fucking kill a bunch of Iranians, okay? Obviously, we have that ambition as well. But the reason why we went in the way that we did, okay, is because the reason why we went in the way that we did is because this is Israel's war, and we were just along for the fucking ride. We were dumb enough, the Trump administration and the closest people to Donald Trump were stupid enough to literally think, oh yeah, this will be easy. We will just get a pliant Iranian head of state, not realizing that Israel had very different ambitions. Okay? It's that simple. Because Donald Trump still wants a W. That's why I'm saying this is like Israel's manipulation. Okay? Donald Trump wants a W. Donald Trump thought this would be a feather in his cap. Look at me. I'm so successful. Look at what I did in Venezuela. I'll be able to do it in Iran. Okay? That's it. That's it. And just like George W. Bush is still responsible for everything that Dick Cheney goaded him into doing, Donald Trump is still responsible for everything that Israel goaded him into doing. This is not an abdication of responsibility. Okay? I'm just simply telling you why a lot of the messaging coming out of the fucking administration is mind-boggling. Like it's very confusing if you do not think. It's very confusing to you if you try to take things that they're saying at face value and think, oh, well, you know, America did this because we just also wanted to destroy, we wanted to liberate the Iranian people, or America did this because, you know, we wanted to do a regime change. None of that is true, okay? It's the peak of American exceptionalism that Iran or any country apparently has to be pro-Western. Our leaders act like being American makes you de facto supreme ruler of the world, and then they have the audacity to claim that it's actually Iran that wants to take over the world. Exactly. That is American exceptionalism. It's built into the heart and soul of every American, by the way. And that's precisely the reason why when people say stuff like that, many people even in my community go, what's so wrong about that? They don't even understand. They don't understand that foreign nations can have different cultures, different attitudes, different interests, right? Sovereign countries can have sovereignty away from the hands of being like vassalized beings for American ambition, for American capital, just like a fucking area that you can extract natural resources from. Like, this is the problem. It literally comes across as them cheating. In the minds of a lot of Americans, they think, oh, they're cheating. What do you mean they have sovereignty? What do you mean they have different ambitions here? This is Ferdowsi Square in central Tehran. People on the ground say the bombing campaign is beyond anything they have seen and seemingly indiscriminate. Increasingly, Israel and U.S. appear to be following the Gaza playbook, having failed to achieve a quick regime implosion. I told you, literally the first fucking day, I told you the first day that the initial strikes were limited. And even in the limited strikes, obviously, they killed 100 little girls at school, but it was limited in comparison to what they can do, okay? And the reason why it was limited is because Donald Trump still thought, oh, Iranians will fucking rise up. Iranians will rise up, and then they'll give up all their weapons, and they'll say, oh my God, Am Israel Chai, I love America. When that didn't happen, what did I tell you? That they're going to slowly start increasing the cruelty to the average Iranian population. Are you still defending terrorists over the country that allowed you to blossom? America is the terrorist country here. This is terrorism, okay? I don't want my tax dollars going to this, okay? If you can't comprehend that, and if you think that that means I'm defending terrorists, you're a fucking moron, okay? 100+ little girls at school murdered in the hands of American weapons that you and I pay taxes for, that you and I are footing the bill for. You think that's not terrorism? You don't think we have an alternative here? Are you out of your fucking mind? Answer me. Why are people so confirm reporting of your predictions? Tucker Carlson was one of the only figures urging Trump not to strike Iran. In 3 Oval Office meetings, he warned that the war would risk American lives, raise energy prices, and destabilize the region. He argued that U.S. was being pulled in by Israel and urged Trump to resist that pressure. Trump said he understood the dangers, but he felt he couldn't stay out of it if Israel attacked. Yeah, we couldn't stay out of it. We had to get in. We had to get in on the fun. Well, you stop Israel then, dumbass. No counter, of course. I know. Of course there's no counter. These guys don't think. They don't think about the reaction to American actions. They don't think about the consequences. They don't think about how destabilizing this will be. Oh, I didn't see you had me pulled up. I did. Are you not listening? I responded to you. What's the question? I said, we are the terrorists here. Killing 100 schoolgirls at school is terrorism. That's what we did in our opening salvo, trying to destabilize a nation state with 93 million population, with no real fucking exit ramp, with no real opportunity for them to like develop or thrive. When the ultimate goal, led by Israel, it's yet to be determined what happened with that situation. Okay, dude, shut the fuck up. Keep coping, Keep coping, dickhead. That's all you got. You're literally, you know it's indefensible, so you have to just like try to find a way out of it where you're like, oh, no, it was determined. We know exactly what happened, you fucking moron. You can only justify it in your mind because it's unjustifiable by saying, oh, we just don't know what happened. Maybe it was Iran that blew it up. Yeah, just like Hamas blew up every hospital in Gaza, right? It was never Israel. If it wasn't 3+ years of solid Hasbara at this point that no one literally believes unless they have Israel's dick lodged so far up their asses that it's basically poking out of their fucking mouths, you know, with the exception of people like that. Most people see that and go, oh, here we go. Israel at it again. Yeah, it's so crazy. Wherever Israel decides to strike, the foreign entity that they're destroying happens to always go weird. Bro is begging Bibi to finish inside. Him and Trump both. But that's how the MAGA guys are. They literally see their dear leader eat Israel's dick every fucking day for lunch and dinner, skipping breakfast. And they go, well, I must eat this dick as well. Yeah, there's a reason why both liberals and Republicans in the MAGA base want to fight back against this is Israel's war narrative, because it's not narrative, it's reality. But the reason why is because it makes it insanely indefensible. It makes it even less defensible than American imperialism, like regular American imperialism, which is indefensible all on its own. But it makes it not only indefensible, but unpopular in the eyes of the average fucking hog. It's kind of stunning to see a major New York Times article clearly vindicating the Mersheimer, Stephen Walt view of U.S. Middle Eastern policy. Edward Wong, the definitive story of how Trump took an almost inevitable path to a new U.S. war in the Middle East. Netanyahu repeatedly urged him to attack Iran with Israel, and no aides voiced opposition. Netanyahu also undermined diplomacy. Regime change became the goal, except regime change is not the goal either. IDF is currently bombing Evin prison and the TV station again. Oh, here we go. Bro, what's so crazy about this is this doesn't actually end up freeing the political prisoners, okay? It literally just kills them. This is what happened last time too. They did this last time as well. They're literally killing the opposition. It's crazy. They did this last time. The family members that had people in the opposition that were in the fucking prison literally released statements telling Israel to fucking stop, that they're killing their family members in prison. Okay, she 100% sold Maduro out. What is this? I spoke by telephone to His Highness Emir of the State of Qatar, to whom I conveyed our solidarity in the face of a serious situation of instability and violence that has erupted in the Middle East, which has placed the entire region on the brink of a dangerous escalation of war. Wait, what? This doesn't say what you think it says. She's not calling out Iran by name and being like, Iran needs to stop or something. Unless she says that, unless she actively says that, it's not completely gone. Qatar is the most neutral. Qatar is the most neutral here. And she's also saying like it's diplomacy time. You know what I mean? She's being very wishes and prayers. Yes, she has a gun to her head, guys. I'm not saying Delcy Rodriguez is like not completely captive to American interests. That is true. She is, okay? She is. She is at the mercy of the United States of America. Batı'dan nefret etmeyen ya yavşaktır ya cahildir. Aynen. Aynen abi aynen. Anyway. Pretty crazy that Democrats spent years trying to claim that Trump was controlled by Russia when there's like 100 times more evidence that Trump was controlled by Israel. Then again, that kind of opens up the Pandora's box of talking about AIPAC. Yep. Wonder why. She could step down and protest? Wait, what? But now never ceases to be the option of these people? Okay, you guys are fucking delusional. You live in La La Land. What do you mean? She steps down and protests and then what? They're making a calculation that they don't want what's happening to Iran to happen to their country. These people, at the end of the day, still care about the sovereignty of their states, but more so care about their populations, okay? No matter how despotic they might be, no matter how tyrannical they might be presented as in Western news, they do care about their fucking people. What are you supposed to do when you have a fucking gun to your head? And the alternative is America comes in and just nukes your country. Anyway, here is Adam Schwartz, far-right authoritarian tracker, I guess. Or no, this is not. This is Professor Pape, Robert A. Pape, professor of political science at University of Chicago, specializing in security affairs, offering analysis as to why the actions in Iran make no fucking sense whatsoever from an academic perspective.
Air campaign since World War I. This is my specialty. I spent 3 years teaching conventional targeting strategy for the U.S. Air Force. I've studied leadership decapitation in detail. I've modeled the bombing of Fordow, the regime change in Iran for 20 years. So this is something I know quite a bit. Literally 10 days ago, I started on Substack, The Escalation Trap, because I worried exactly watching the Armada being built, we would fall into the escalation trap, and that's what's happened. We are now in the grip of the escalation trap, or the smart bomb trap, to be more precise, where the illusion of the 100% tactical success, which is real, it's the success of the bombs blowing up the targets is not false. It creates the illusion of control of escalation. And that is the smart bomb trap, and that is what has gripped us right now. And the problem is that once we drop those bombs and once we announce regime change is our goal, and we had no other tools trying to do this from the air, this has never worked in over 100 years.
The only way that you can successfully put in a puppet state is if you commit to ground troops. Okay? That's it. Trump, do it. Because you're not bringing Reza Pahlavi into the countryside without ground troops protecting him every step of the fucking way. And even then, it might not be successful. Okay? Will we commit to boots on the ground military warfare in Iran? Because I know Israel's ass ain't going to war with boots on the ground against an adult military, a functioning military. They can only kill children that way after doing aerial strikes over and over again. Because I know it won't be Israel fighting that fucking war. It will be American sons and daughters. Just so you understand. This will literally collapse the American state. Okay? If you're a third worldist right now, you're nutting.
This is not like it works sometimes or rarely works. I'm choosing my words carefully. President Trump is up against the weight of history here. And it's...
But 1953 worked without ground troops, no. First of all, no, it did not. Mass instability caused, like a failed coup to take place. But of course they fucking still had Western troops. They literally have, and we're talking about a very different Iran in 1953. I don't know if you know this, but 1953 failed. The Iranian Revolution happened. Hello?
The illusion of the smart bombs being near perfect.
Please explain how it'll destroy the American state. The USA spends so much on its military. Are you saying it'll be like 1917? I'm saying it'll be like the USSR's invasion of Afghanistan. Okay? First of all, look at a fucking map of topography of Iran. Let's start there. Iran, as a country, is literally a fortress, okay? Iran as a country is literally a fortress. It is surrounded in all parts by mountainous regions, okay? This will be an unimaginable mass casualty incident. If America tries to go in to Iran and deploy troops into Iran, it will be Afghanistan times a million. The amount of money, the amount of lives that you commit to this will collapse America because there will no longer be any domestic appetite for that kind of thing. Yeah, it's 4 times the size of Iraq and all mountains. It's not even, I mean, look at this, dude. Look at this. Look. Mountains, mountains, desert, mountains. We don't even have enough munitions and enough equipment to defend little old Israel right now successfully. What makes you think our offensive capabilities obviously are stronger than our defensive capabilities or defensive munitions, but like, what makes you think we are going to successfully be able to take over a country with 93 million people, with tens of millions of armed combatants that have a fuck ton of fighting experience? You're literally so fucking wrong. I defeated them easily in Hearts of Iron 4. Okay. How many times has Iran been successfully invaded throughout history? I mean, back when people were, on horseback, they would just own it over and over again. But that's a very long time ago. Very different circumstances, okay? Anyway, I don't even think they want that. That would be insane. I think they just want to be able to bring in Kurdish militias from the Iraqi border, okay, and try to do like use that as like a popular uprising narrative. Use that as like a troop commitment. I suspect that they want to turn it into Syria or Libya, but they don't have enough popular support on the ground to turn it into Syria because guess what? No ISIS. How are you going to do that? How are you going to do that without ISIS? No ISIS in Iran. ISIS isn't gone, but they're just not, I guess they'll bring in ISIS from this side and this side, or the Taliban or something. I don't know. Kurdish militias wouldn't work. Just look at the topography. They won't be able to affect the closure of the strait. Taliban has no ambitions to fuck with Iran. I don't know about that. Taliban and Pakistan are beefing currently, but who knows? You're pretending as if al-Sharaa doesn't have incredibly high approval ratings even across minority groups, lol. Oh my lord. Yes, it's a resounding success. Syria is a resounding success. It will be completely eaten up by Israel and will be a part of greater Israel, and it will be a resounding success, okay? Honestly shows your Western bias sometimes with your lack of nuance when you talk about Syria. You're right. I apologize. I think it's a perfectly functioning state. It's a perfectly functioning sovereign state. You're right. I'm wrong. And it's great territory for greater Israel. And also, northern part of Syria is now Turkish, and southern part of Syria eaten up by Israel. Eventually, they'll fucking duke it out, And how can Syria fight Israel right now? That's the point, dumbass. Shut the fuck up. Ay, ay, ay. You're actually right. Yes, you're right. I'm wrong. Syria is a success story. It's actually awesome. It's actually awesome to have a country that is ruled over by a former Al-Qaeda leader. It's perfectly normal, perfectly good. It's he's a reformist. He cares about building institutions, and he's doing the damn thing right now. And also, all of it will be Israel eventually. Tucker Carlson also came out. Let's take a look at what he had to say.
Now, that wasn't a risk from the Israeli. Standpoint. That was the point. They wanted to diminish the Gulf, and in 2 days they have. And I think anyone who likes decency and order and cleanliness is hoping that the Gulf will recover. The Gulf is not a threat to us. We have military bases in these countries. These are some of our closest allies. All of them are closer allies than Israel, by far. They're our friends, but they've been really hurt. And in a place like Dubai, which is basically part of a country, it's an emirate within the United Arab Emirates, but it's also a luxury brand, basically. People go to Dubai because it's beautiful and rich and clean, and above all, because it's safe and orderly. It's got the busiest airport in the world. You start seeing video on Instagram of smoke in the Dubai airport, and you're like, I think I'm going to Cabo this year. Oh, sorry, drug cartels. Whatever. Maybe you go to Sedona this year. It really, really hurts these countries, and Israel wanted to hurt these countries. That's the point. wanted to hurt these countries, wanted to sow chaos and disorder because they are rivals of Israel. So it's probably not, hasn't been reported, but it's a fact that last night in Qatar and Saudi Arabia, authorities arrested.
Oh, I think he's a mercenary, dude. Okay. I think he's literally a mercenary. The people paying him the most is Qatar. Before it was UAE. Now he doesn't fuck with the UAE as much, but like it's the Gulfs. Not to come across as like a Hasbro guy here, but I feel like there's a different angle here, don't you think? Obviously, Iran is not paying him, so he is completely not talking about the very obvious destabilization initiative here against Iran. Because the real analysis here is Israel, yes, Israel wants to undermine the Gulf states. That's true. But that's immaterial. That's utterly irrelevant in the grand scheme of things. Israel wants to fucking destroy Iran. Israel wants to turn Iran into a failed state. And the reason why he won't say that out loud, I think, is because, you know, he probably, maybe he wants to just run for president. That's probably what it is. This is his like easiest route to not come across like he's defending the IRGC, right?
Did Mossad agents planning on committing bombings in those countries. Now, that's weird. That doesn't make any sense. Why would the Israelis be committing bombings in two Gulf countries, which are also being attacked by Iran? Aren't they on the same side? No. Israel wants to hurt Iran and Qatar and UAE and Saudi and Bahrain and Oman and Kuwait. And they've succeeded. Now,
Amalek this, Amalek that. Netanyahu and Iran war. We read this week. We read in this week's Torah portion. Remember what Amalek did to you? Are you kidding me? After invoking Amalek ahead of destruction of Gaza, he's openly doing Amalek threats again. Yeah, I mean, Dimi Ryder is correct. It's not like he faced any consequences last time, so of course he's doing it. Yeah, Amalek. ICJ dragging its nuts, dude. Remember Jared Kush and the Abraham Accords? How's it going? I mean, none of that matters as long as you can fucking destroy Iran. Who gives a fuck about the Abraham Accords? Those guys will come back to the table at any point. They can think about that later down the line if there is even a fucking Middle East to do deals with at the end of that process. Netanyahu gave statements to the short press conference in both Hebrew and in English. He only made his not-so-veiled reference to wiping out Amalek in his Hebrew statement. Interesting. In
destroying their target. And the problem is when those bombs fall, they change politics in the target. They inject nationalism into the regime. They inject nationalism into the society. And they essentially fuse the regime and society against the air power attacker. And this is what you are seeing, because now society and the regime are taking more risky steps, and they do things that no one anticipated before. And that failure to anticipate the worst case, that has happened numerous times with smart bombs. That's just what happened in the last 36 hours.
Oh, yeah. Here's Pete Kegsbreth straight up saying, I will commit the troops.
Thank you,
Egypt is 100% outside the conflict. Bro, Egypt has fallen from grace so fucking hard. Israel literally cut out natural gas transfers to Egypt like a month ago. It didn't even make a blip. It didn't even register as like a issue of consequence. And on top of that, Egypt is already such a pliant vassal state, basically a fucking fail state, that like there is no Egypt in the equation. People aren't even looking to see what Egypt has to say in this instance. Forget Hegseth. Trump himself said it.
I had two questions for you. First, are there currently any American boots on the ground in Iran?
No, but we're not going to go into the exercise of what we will or will not do. I think it's one of those fallacies for a long time that this department or presidents or others should tell the American people this, and our enemies, by the way, here's exactly what we'll do. Here's exactly how long we'll go. Here's exactly how far we'll go. Here's what we're willing to do and not do. It's foolishness. And so President Trump ensures that our enemies understand we'll go as far as we need to go to advance American interests. But we're not dumb about it. You don't have to roll 200,000 people in there and stay for 20 years. Yep. Right here.
Thank you, Secretary Hegseth. I had two questions for you. First, are there currently any...
Their contempt for the American people is so infuriating. Yeah. I was going to say that. So one of the things that's always frustrating about the way that these guys talk and people react when they're like, and people's reactions to the way that they talk is like, there is this notion that like America cares. There's this idea that like the American state cares, right? About the citizens in Iran. They don't care about the fucking civilians in Iran. They don't care about the citizens in Iran. They don't care about democracy in Iran. America doesn't even care about its own sons it sends to war, nor its oil-rich Gulf partners. So I'm always confused by desperate people in the diaspora who demand violent intervention by the U.S., thinking it'll lead to prosperity. They're just going to kill your family, right? Saudi Arabia officials saying that the U.S. abandoned them and redirected its air defenses to protect Israel, the American military bases at the mercy of Iranian strikes. America doesn't care about anybody. America is currently committing their own sons to engage in unlimited warfare and die at the hands of Israel's military ambitions, no matter how destabilizing it may be. It makes me feel so bad as a Jewish American that Israel's framing all their actions as defense of the Jewish people. I worry that one day will lead to an anti-Semitic sentiment against my religion at no fault of mine. I mean, that's already here, chatter. That's already happening. Like, that's why this whole America First shit is I mean, that's why it was so successful as a narrative, right? That's why it was so successful as a narrative, because Americans were listening to Trump go, why are we sending our fucking boys and girls to go fight wars so that, you know, some weirdo can turn profit? You know, why can we like extract the oil and whatnot? Only until Trump turned around and said, actually, that is America first. What's insane is that 2 million wars later and you still have to repeat that basic fact. I know. And I'll still fucking repeat it. I will never get tired of repeating it. But yeah, Iranian sources say some buildings and hotels hidden in the Gulf were housing Israeli or U.S. personnel or intelligence operations. That Iran pinpointed the locations has really caught the Americans and Israelis off guard. People said this was propaganda. This was Iranian propaganda. And then guess what? The American government confirmed it. Through diplomatic cables, the American government confirmed that Iran actually had successfully struck American assets, defense contractors. Do you think they'll attack Incirlik? I don't know. Iran is pretty fucking crazy and they want the smoke. I just don't know if they want that kind of smoke, because then it's like NATO. Scoop. U.S. is stonewalling requests by some Gulf states who came under attack from Iran to replenish air defense interceptors, Western officials and former U.S. official tell me. We have shot several years' worth of production in the last few days. Also, we obviously have a higher priority here, which is our commitment to defending the nation state of Israel. Okay?
Bigger picture of what this all means. Let's go ahead and start with our first element. Prime Minister Bibi Netanyahu saying the quiet part out loud. He says, in bombing Iran, Israel has now the assistance of the United States, my friend President Donald Trump, and the U.S. military. This coalition of forces allows us to do what I've yearned to do for 40 years. 40 years, it's a dream that the Prime Minister had, despite all of the alleged pretexts about preemptive attacks, nuclear strikes, ballistic missiles. This is something that has been in the heart of the Bibi Netanyahu project. I just was wondering if you could react to that and frame your general thoughts around this entire regional war that has now erupted.
I hadn't seen that quote, but if he said it, what an asshole he is.
Bigger picture of what...
Professor Jeffrey Sachs reacts to Benjamin Netanyahu publicly boasting that Trump helped him finally fulfill his 40-year dream to attack Iran. Well, my fucking friend, what the fuck? Like, it all comes down to buddies doing favors for each other. State Department is urging citizens to leave the Middle East ASAP. Breaking, the U.S. State Department urges Americans to depart now via commercial means due to serious safety risks. Countries listed: Bahrain, Egypt, Iran, Iraq, Israel, West Bank and Gaza, Jordan, Kuwait, Lebanon, Oman, Qatar, Saudi Arabia, Syria, United Arab Emirates, and Yemen. Jeffrey Sachs giving his hour-long analysis on how the U.S. undermined and collapsed Russia after the fall of the USSR is a video you would love to watch. Yeah, Jeffrey Sachs, Mersheimer. These guys are the most vindicated figures. Just like I almost said Noam Chomsky. Norm Finkelstein, another figure that was instantly vindicated post-October 7. These guys have been getting yelled at nonstop. And when people yell at me, they're basically yelling at a watered-down version of their analysis as well. Of course, it's much easier to yell at me because I can be presented as a dumb himbo and don't have the same long-standing like academic pedigree and also personal involvement as well. Oh, this was really funny. Speaking of like the American assets falling apart, we talked about disapprovals. We talked about approvals. We talked about Spain getting yelled at. Oh, here's a footage from a commercial airliner showing a missile being launched. I suspect this is an older video. There's a Kuwaiti death. I don't have the yips with respect to boots on the ground. Exclusive to the New York Post, by the way. I don't have the yips with respect to boots on the ground like every president says. There will be no boots on the ground. There will be no boots on the ground. I don't say it, Trump tells the New York Post. He's saying he's committing. That's a video from a Japanese space launch? Oh, okay. He's telling the New York Post he doesn't have the yips. He will put boots on the ground if he chooses to, if he sees it to be the appropriate measure. Prepare to die for Israel, everybody. That's so funny that you guys just sent me the Ken Klippenstein article because he just sent it to me as well via text. Why we struck Iran, the machine that all but made the decision itself. We attacked Iran because the target was simply too tempting to pass up, military sources tell me. No consideration was given to what, the so what, or the then what. I'm also told the high-value targets were just too valuable. The Ayatollah, Chief of Staff of the Army, Minister of Defense, at least 40 senior officials in the total were killed. Trump approved what was all but impossible not to approve. The president is captive to an intelligence machine built over decades that now produces kill packages so clean and seductive that it practically runs itself. As the Pentagon bluntly put it, a large-scale U.S. strike cut off the head of the snake, summarizing its view of a crisp decapitation operation. Trump gets away with all of this by pretending we're not really at war, a falsehood which Congress is happy to play along. Asked if the U.S. is at war with Iran, Senator Lindsey Graham told to Meet the Press, I don't know if this is technically a war. Absurd as that sounds, Democratic leaders are adopting the same framing. Senator Chuck Schumer says the strikes are risking wider conflict, as if this already hasn't done that. Representative Hakeem Jeffrey says the operation has brought us to the brink of possible war, as if this isn't already war. If killing a 36-year-long head of state and his deputies isn't war, what is? The United States is at war with Iran, pure and simple. We have been for decades. We supported Iraq in its war against Iran. We've conducted special operations inside Iran. We've shot at Iranian coastal installations and sunk Iranian ships. We've undertaken constant covert operations in the shadows, from actual sabotage to planning cyber viruses. We shot down an Iranian civilian airliner, attacked targets on land, and conducted thousands of strikes against Iranian proxies in multiple countries from Yemen to Lebanon. We've labeled the country a part of the axis of evil. We killed Quds Force head Qasem Soleimani in an aerial assassination and bombed Iranian nuclear-related sites. We've thwarted Iranian attacks on Israel and others, maintained a tripwire ground force in Kuwait, and hardened installations in the region. From Jimmy Carter to Donald Trump, through Republican and Democratic administrations, the United States has frozen countless billions in Iranian assets, sanctioned Iranian companies, cut off Iran from the world banking system, banned Iranian oil imports and exports, and penalized non-U.S. companies investing in the country. We have designated the nation, Iranian organizations, and Iranian individuals as state sponsors of terrorism and foreign terrorist organizations. Add to this history that today the American military machine continues to do its thing. In 2.5 decades of war since 9/11, it has perfected the ability to find and destroy a target, any target. I've previously written about the fundamental change that has occurred in the nature of warfare and the practice of decapitation, and we see here in the latest, the U.S. and Israel carried out an opening blow that killed Iran's supreme leader, Ayatollah Ali Khamenei, and dozens of other Iranian leaders. The military feat itself is the reason we are where we are, pure and simple. Meticulous intelligence work identified the routines and locations of the Ayatollah and others in Iran's national security apparatus, and when a set of meetings on Saturday's morning were pinpointed, the tightest rubber band machine snapped into action. Calling this starting a war is a Democratic talking point, Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth said today, adding, this is the elimination of a threat that has existed since 1979. Because we were already at war with Iran and have been for decades, this is the other side of the machine, by the way. It is Israel's urging, But the other side of the machine is the American appetite for more and more actions like this that is developed for decades prior to Donald Trump, right? So when Ken writes this, there is truth to it. Expanded, it has ballooned, and Donald Trump was crazy enough with the urging of Israel to go in and do this assassination strike, no holds barred. And I think a big transition from the previous neocon iteration of like going in and doing like a 20-year project of developing a puppet state and taking complete control over the country changed after Libya. Libya was seen by the military industrial complex as a massive success. Very low, like no assets were harmed in the process, and very little commitments as far as like staying behind and trying to figure out what takes place in the country. Okay? We collapsed the state, we destroyed the nation, and we fucked off, right? And we left our, paramilitary groups on the ground that we're aligned with or work with from time to time, ISIS style, Salafist groups. And then we let other regional partners like Turkey take control over the country. The difference here is Iran is not Libya. Okay? Iran is not Libya. But the lessons learned from Libya was there is very little domestic political consequence if you just go in and out, destroy the fucking state, and leave it as a pile of ashes, basically. Okay? As a Libyan, it's pretty infuriating every time you mention Libya. What do you mean? What? Are you going to tell me? Are you going to do fucking standpoint epistemology on how actually Gaddafi needed to go and it's a perfectly robust state now in and of itself? Is that what you're going to tell me? What are we doing, man? Or are you saying that even like a reminder of America's imperial ambitions in Libya, it's more complex than that? No, I was part of the revolution. It's always more complex. Is Libya better off now or is it not? It sucks now, but we did that. Okay. Yes, America and the American CIA has never taken advantage of real anger and resentment. The Arab Spring was just nothing. It didn't happen. It didn't exist. Here's a good book I recommend. Vincent Bevins wrote it, not Jakarta Method, even though that's a great book as well. But his recent book that he wrote is specifically on this. I'm gonna get to reading that when I have time. What is it? If We Burn, I believe. If We Burn is the name of the book. I believe he even talks about Libya in it, if I'm not mistaken. But it's mostly talking about Brazil and talking about like real popular movements and how they get real popular movements and how the American State Department takes advantage of real popular movements with civil society organizations that they've already created and basically turns a real revolution into something. I would love to hear you press that chatter on what part he played in the Libyan revolution, because 99% chance he was supporting from afar as the Libyan in Colorado or some shit. Yeah, I don't know. As a fellow diasporoid, I am to rate your top 5 worst ones. I mean, it's Cuban, Persian, Iranian, Venezuelan. Actually, Venezuelans are not. They're hit or miss. I don't know. Like, it's hard. I feel like Lebanese are up there too. Well, depends. Because Lebanese diaspora is like either the coolest people you've ever met or fucking people who say, I'm Phoenician. You know what I mean? Like, there's more diversity in the diaspora population, whereas like with the Iranian and the Cubans, there isn't really a lot of diversity at all. It's just like one massive fucking in-group. Again, diversity in the Chinese diaspora population as well, but Falun Gong, it's pretty bad. Why is Cubans always catching strays? We ain't all bad, brother. As a part of the Cuban diaspora, I think you're probably aware of what the Cuban diaspora has been doing for years and years to Cuba specifically, right? I mean, we're talking about your neighbors and your relatives if you live in a Cuban neighborhood still. Like, I think you know better than anybody else personally. We're talking about like the overwhelming majority. Yeah, my whole fam. Exactly. If a diaspora population, if with your diaspora population, the overwhelming majority is like incredibly reactionary, it's hard to look at it as anything but like the reactionary component. Hasan işin sonu bize sekecek gibi ama o zaman ipler tamamen kopar. Aynen abi. A Persian actress I follow, I like, follows you on Insta. Türkler NATO ülkesiyiz, bize girmez diyor. Arkadaşlar o zaman öğreneceğiz. Amerika İsrail'in köpeği mi yoksa Amerika hala büyük partner mi, öğreneceğiz o zaman. Okey? Bu kadar basit. Siyonizm daha mı önemli Amerika için yoksa Amerikan kapitalizmi daha mı önemli, göreceğiz. O gün göreceğiz. İnşallah o günü görmeyiz hiçbir zaman. Anyway. Because we're already at war with Iran and have been for decades. Yes, there's intelligent diplomatic people who fret about the consequences, but like wusses in Congress, they are brushed aside because this is an opportunity we can't pass up. That's how it's been explained to me. As many of you have noticed, I'm not going to lie. I think Ken is like taking away the shared responsibility from Israel with this article a little bit. I do disagree to some respect. I respectfully have to disagree. I think this is like, I understand that like escalation after escalation after escalation created a robust appetite to do stuff like this, and Donald Trump was crazy enough to do it. But the final fucking domino was absolutely Israel pushing Donald Trump with shitty ass intelligence, telling him that this would actually be super easy because they had a different ambition in mind. But yeah, I do worry that this will continue over and over again. I do worry that this will happen in Cuba. I worry that this will happen with any state that even European allies potentially whenever Donald Trump sees fit, because there is no one ready to counter the Trump administration. There's no one ready to counter the American. Trump tested this a little bit with Greenland. He got high off of his own supply with Venezuela and thought, oh, I'll do this to Greenland. Okay. How the first U.S. service members died. The first U.S. service members killed in conflict with Iran died in a direct Iranian strike on a makeshift operations center at a civilian port in Kuwait on Sunday morning local time. A source familiar with the matter told CNN. The source said the strike hit just after 9 a.m., directly impacting a triple-wide trailer used as office space. There were no warning sirens. Parts of the building were smoldering hours later. Well, the number is 6, and we still don't know where the others died. The Israeli military says it's destroyed the Iranian Broadcasting Authority building in Tehran. Why would you do that?
But if it was really about that, how could this threat have lasted for 40 years? How could, as Benjamin Netanyahu said yesterday, how could Iran's nuclear program been on the very verge, the cusp?
If not for the U.S. intervention, then what would have been a better alternative for the Iranians? The Iranians are not factoring into this equation at all, unless you're talking about the smoldering ashes of the Iranians in the aftermath of an impact site from American munitions. Americans do not calculate what happens to its own citizens, let alone what happens to the citizens of foreign nations. Okay? It's crazy. Cut it out. Cut the shit out. Like, oh, what would be the best option for the Iranians? Like, I don't know, maybe not being fucking destroyed by America and Israel in the actions that are already happening, but also simultaneously the actions that will get even worse for the Iranian population as America and Israel keep literally destroying Tehran and all of the other heavily populated civilian sites.
Building and deploying a nuclear weapon for 40 years. Well, of course it wasn't. What we can argue about Iran's aims with nuclear weapons. They probably wanted one. Who wouldn't want one? Look at what happens to countries that don't have one. Everyone wants a nuclear weapon. But were they actually about to get one?
I just saw you on Twitter, buddy. Totally agree with your perspective regarding the situation. Hi from Turkey. Israel cannot attack Turkey because Trump's daughter is in our hands. Okay, that's a joke. But HasanAbi doctrine on the Tucker Carlson show. Oh, I was going to show you while the footage of an American plane falling on the ground in Kuwait is playing in the background, Israel's Channel 12 host, Niv Raskin, urgently notes. This is very funny. Watch this. Friends, we need to emphasize this is an incident in Kuwait involving American forces and not, heaven forbid, an incident involving Israeli forces. Thank God. Thank God it wasn't one of ours, guys. It was just a dumb American idiot, okay? Guys, don't worry. Don't worry. It was another one of these servile pieces of American cattle that Americans keep throwing into the pile for us. Please don't worry. Okay? Incredible. And it's also extra funny because We also have that attitude. We, the American state, literally is like, oh, we will send our loyal servants to die, potentially. In this case, there wasn't a death, obviously, but what is this? Khamenei was old as fuck. The government was losing grip on power. The bombing caused Iranians to rally around the flag. I mean, I don't know if that's 100% true, but the Kuwaiti people that responded to the crash drove the pilot around in their trunk. I know, I saw it. It was really funny. Anyway, let's hold on. Where is the fucking CNN
Iraq
report?
force at the Iranian border. Let's now get to play another key place to be watching right now. What's the situation there?
Well, Kate, we have been hearing interceptions overhead. Monday morning, there were at least 2 interceptions we heard here in Dubai. In Abu Dhabi, an hour down the road, it's a very similar situation. And just in the last several minutes, we have been hearing a number of fighter jets in the air. So there is certainly at this point no let-up in the retaliation from Iran when it comes to these Gulf nations. Now, it is interesting. We're having figures through from ministries of defense talking about how much is being thrown from Iran towards these Gulf nations.
Oh, they lost Matt Walsh, by the way. I forgot to mention this. I can't take the gaslighting, guys. I really can't. Conservatives are now running around saying Iran has been waging war on us for 47 years. Okay, then why didn't any of you call for an attack on Iran at any point until now? Why didn't you make the case for Trump ending the war, not starting it, until precisely the moment when Trump did it? You and I both know that you are latching on to a talking point you never used until 45 seconds ago. You and I both know that almost every conservative influencer in the business was opposed to war with Iran until just now. And now you're trying to use justifications that stretch back decades. It doesn't make any sense. If you changed your mind, fine, say so. Explain why. You're allowed to change your mind. I've changed my mind about things, but don't try to rewrite history. Be honest about it. There's too much at stake to play these games. Yeah, and then they're fighting one another. The other conservative loser goes, tell that to the soldiers who were wounded in Beirut. Tell that to the soldiers wounded in Afghanistan. Tell that to the soldiers wounded in Iraq. Tell that to the families who died in Israel. Matt Walsh says, were you saying all this all along and calling for an attack on Iran, or did you formulate this reasoning only after the attack was already happening? Matt Walsh is still too much of a bitch boy to fucking openly say this is Israel's war, by the way, because, Benny Boy might come after his ass a little too hard. Well, the cracks have set in. Oh no. Oh no. Ben Shapiro, your boss, had a very different attitude. He was saying Operation Epic Fortnite Chungus is fantastic. Your previous co-host is having on the foremost authority on Bonerbox, the worst Hosbers, to try to justify the war in Iran. Who gives a fuck? Fuck those guys. Yeah, day 3, and Matt Walsh is like, fuck this, I'm out. Let's see if he gets the whip cracked on his ass. You can actually tell who is sincerely America first, I guess, or on the left, sincerely anti-war, versus who only cares about Israel. This is your opportunity to find out, okay? It's right here in real time, unfolding in front of your eyes, okay? That's it. If you're pro-Israel, if you're Israel first, you're going to sit around and be like, no, this is awesome. Let's kill the American cattle class at the behest of Israel, please. It's fantastic. It's awesome. We always wanted this. We always wanted this to happen. And it's a good thing that it's happening. It's fantastic. Am Israel Chai. For some, this will be, too much. Matt Walsh at least has the foresight to recognize that he might be going independent going forward. Okay? U.S. urges citizens to immediately depart. Yeah, we already covered it. Qatar is said to have 4 days of Patriot missiles left for interceptions. I feel bad. I think Qatar is a wonderful country, okay? But, have some autonomy, Qatar. You already have a shared oil field with Iran. It's crazy. I cannot believe I was there. I think about that a lot. I could be, if America had moved its assets into the region earlier. Qatar has 4 days worth of Patriot missiles left, Bloomberg reports. Trump says things are going great. According to Bloomberg, the UAE and Qatar are privately lobbying the Trump administration to bring quick end to the conflict out of fear of ongoing economic disruption and the depletion of interceptor stocks. The United Arab Emirates and Qatar are privately lobbying allies to help them persuade President Donald Trump to reach an reach for an off-ramp that would help, that would keep U.S. military operations against Iran short, according to people familiar with the matter. By the way, I saw, you know what's really funny about this, and I talked about this when I was in Doha, I saw uniformed personnel at the fucking hotel I was staying at, and that freaked me the fuck out. Okay? Literally. My dad was there. I was like, Dad, do you fucking not see this shit? And he's like, what do you mean? What's the problem? I'm like, what? That's a uniformed American personnel in the fucking hotel with us. That's crazy. This is literally like, this is now technically a military target. What are we doing here? I'm straight up a fucking human shield now. What the fuck is this? That's part of the reason why when I saw the Shahed drones striking fucking hotels in all these different places, I was like, there's probably American soldiers inside of those hotels. They escaped the bases and they're just staying in the hotels now. What could be happening in Qatar in the next few days? I live here and it's been quiet so far. It's been quiet because they've been striking Al Udeid. Because Al Udeid, until now, has had decent defenses because that's where CENTCOM is. But Iran hasn't stopped pummeling Al Udeid, right? Al Udeid is one of the only American assets in the region that had a sufficient stockpile of anti-missile defense systems, okay? The problem here is they don't have an infinite supply. So eventually, when they run out, Iran is going to keep striking CENTCOM. Iran is going to keep striking Al Udeid, okay? And they're going to start hitting Al Udeid. They're going to start succeeding in hitting Al Udeid, okay? When that happens, that's the major base of operations for all U.S. troops in the fucking region. I don't know if Donald Trump comprehends that or not. I don't know what they're thinking, okay? As far as the military working to defend, CENTCOM is U.S. Central Command. It is the base of operations in which the United States wages war in the entire fucking region. There is no, I don't give a shit about CENTCOM, okay? Like, if there is one area of importance that is just as important as like Israel, I guess, or should be a higher priority than Israel, it's U.S. Central Command. And when those soldiers leave the base, when the evacuation order is given, because like I'm assuming they're already working in a limited capacity right now, but eventually when it's left defenseless, they're going to fucking escape. And those soldiers are not going to be able to fly out of Qatar because Iranian missiles are flying around. So they're going to have to go to the hotels. They're going to go and live amongst the civilians. They're going to hide amongst the civilians. And then what do you think happens? Especially considering that I suspect there is a lot of Chinese surveillance at play here that is giving them, giving the Iranian side strike targets over and over again. You got the Chinese satellites watching American soldiers pick their noses in the fucking Al Udeid air base, walking around with their dicks out, pissing outside. And in real time, you get that surveillance to the Iranians, and they're going to start striking different fucking areas in Qatar too, potentially. The only reason why this entire thing is foiled is because Iran, for years and years, had demonstrated restraint. Okay? And I think Americans and Israel thought that that restraint meant they're pussies, they don't have the fucking smoke, they don't have the weapons, they don't have the interest. Okay? Well, it turns out they did. When you assassinate their leadership and they already have a contingency plan in motion, this is what happens. And now America's going, oh shit, Iran has fucking legal. You can't do that. That's where we're at right now in this stage of the war, okay? In this stage of the war, you backed Iran into a fucking corner where there was no other alternative other than fighting their way out of that corner. And now they're fighting back, and America's like, wait a minute, that's illegal. You can't fight back against this. What the fuck are you doing? This is not fair. You should not be retaliating this hard. This is completely unsustainable. It's been 2 fucking days, dude. 3 days. We're on the 3rd day. And Donald Trump literally looked for an off-ramp the first day. After the end of the first day, he was like, he went through the Italian envoys to try to set up a ceasefire negotiation. And Iran was like, fuck off. When is your billionaire dad coming on the broadcast? My billionaire dad. Yo, we're cooked now. Explosions are loud here right now in Qatar. Qatar just got badly attacked. What the fuck? What are they watching the stream? That's crazy. The countries are seeking to build a wide coalition to advance a swift diplomatic end to the conflict. People said, in order to prevent regional escalation and prolonged energy price shock. They were speaking on condition of anonymity, discussing matters that have not yet been made public. A Qatari assessment shared with Bloomberg News warned that if shipping lanes in the region remain severely disrupted by the middle of this week, they would expect to see more significant market reaction for natural gas prices than Monday's sharp spike. Qatar Energy halted its production of LNG this morning at some point. That accounts for like roughly 20% of the LNG output. You know who makes a lot of money here, by the way? The American LNG producers. The UAE has requested assistance from its allies with medium-range air defense, while Qatar has asked for help to counter drone attacks, which have emerged as a greater threat than ballistic missiles, the people added. Qatar's stock of Patriot interceptor missiles will last 4 days at the current rate of use. 4 days at the current rate of use, according to an internal analysis seen by Bloomberg News. Insanity. Matt Walsh doubles down on the admin, so he's flat out telling us that we're in a war with Iran because Israel forced our hand. This is basically the worst possible thing he could have said. Ooh! Whoosh, whoosh. It's coming. Matt Walsh is going to leave the Daily Wire. I'm calling it. He sees the writing on the wall. There is no shot that Ben Shapiro doesn't punish his ass for saying this kind of stuff. Ben Shapiro loves this operation. Ben Shapiro went on Daily Wire and was nutting when he was talking about Fortnite Epic Chungus. Operation Epic Chungus Fortnite is so good. In the 12-day war, the U.S. fired 150 THAAD interceptors of the entire global stockpile. In the last 48 hours, we have fired an untold number along with several other systems. In 2025, the U.S. acquired exactly 12 new THAAD interceptors. I don't know about that. I'm telling you, Iran's technique of overwhelming the systems with whatever the fuck they can is going to yield a much more productive response than the Americans ever could have conceded to, than the Americans could have ever imagined. Good summary of why the Bahrain naval base was hit so much. Why is Iran focused on destroying the U.S. Fifth Fleet in Bahrain? This isn't just a fleet, it's a comprehensive database, warfare, intelligence, piracy, politics, and more. Let me explain the importance of this fleet. Okay, this seems like ChatGPT. Thogger does have internal sources, so he might be more knowledgeable. Bro, we spent trillions on defense and we can't even sustain a week-long assault. Do we just pump all that defense spending into crony contractors and McKinsey checks? Yes. I think a lot of people don't realize that the American military-industrial complex is the most bloated operation of all time, and quite literally hasn't had like the interest of developing munitions and procurement strategies that like are equivalent to, you know, World War II levels or even anything beyond that, even anything that comes close to that for quite a while. Yes, a lot of this money just goes to the executives and is spent. A lot of this money goes to the executives and is not spent on like developing munitions. Iran, on the other hand, has the exact opposite interest. Iran has the least bloated munitions production facilities because they actually do see this as a way to continue having sovereignty. The U.S. is out here calling everyone a paper tiger, but it turns out we are the paper tiger. Yeah, I mean, paper tiger literally comes from Mao Zedong. Mao Zedong initially said the U.S. is a paper tiger, and it turns out he was fucking right. He just was too early. That's where paper tiger comes from. Paper tiger as a term comes from Mao Zedong calling the United States a paper tiger. Oil crisis impact, Japan 72%. Hormuz dependency. Strait of Hormuz dependency by country. Japan 72%. South Korea 65%. India 50%. China 50%. Europe average 18%. United States 2%. Shale production made us extra fucking crazy. Energy independence under the Barack Obama administration literally made America the nuttiest country on the planet because it completely removed us from that kind of dependence anyway. This is what allows us to behave in the insane ways that we do. And we got Venezuela now on top of that too. So how is it derailing the topic? He spoke about it like 5 minutes ago. I wanted to circle back to understand the view better as a competent conversation would be. What? THAAD procurement for 2024 was 11. 2025 was 12. This year scheduled for 37. Nice. And while we're on the topic, big wave of missiles on Israel. Is that what's going on? I've had a pod calls out Western media for not talking about the Israel connection.
Why? Rachel Maddow at MS Now propagandizes the American public and her listeners with whom.
Dude, I'm going to be honest with you. If Israel hadn't committed a genocide for the last 2.5 years, these kinds of conversations would not be, we would not be able to have these conversations. But because Israel committed a genocide for the last, there was so much attrition on the power of an anti-Semitism allegation that it is no longer an effective counter mechanism. Now, whenever someone says, oh, dude, what the fuck? Why are you so obsessed with Israel? Why are you bringing up Israel? People just look at you like you're funny. People look at you and go, oh, here we go again. This guy immediately with the anti-Semitism allegations. Now, obviously, the other side of that, the damaging side of that is that there are people who are anti-Semitic, like objectively, and take advantage of the situation and dilute the conversation, and it's very frustrating, and it's something that I obviously oppose. Having said that, however, you know, this has been very effective. It's been very effectively neutered, and therefore you have the I've had it ladies who are capable of having this conversation. What's going on, guys? I've had it ladies who are capable of having this conversation and demanding answers for it. Okay?
She has so much credibility. And we're not talking about the manipulation and the diabolical intentions of Benjamin Netanyahu. It's just really devastating when you see what little organized.
We're going to switch gears in a little bit as Tom Steyer's in the building, and I'm going to be talking to him about running as a billionaire, running for office, or running for California governor.
True opposition this country has to all of these for-profit complexes and a diabolical psychotic war criminal named Benjamin Netanyahu. Propaganda is so bad, you guys, that over the weekend I watched Rachel Maddow, and she goes on one of her monologues and she doesn't even connect that the reason we're doing this is for.
Hello, Mr. Not #1 most watched streamer in Iran. What? What the fuck does that mean?
Benjamin Netanyahu, a person who has an arrest warrant. And that causes me great pain as a former MSNBC liberal, a big fan of Rachel Maddow's. The complicity of the Western media and not reporting on this accurately. There's so much deeper information here. And Benjamin Netanyahu, for 30 years, has had.
Yeah, let's do it. All right. Yeah.